In elementary and middle school, most of us learn Greek and Latin, of course, root words, prefixes, and suffixes that help us just build an enormous vocabulary. So many of our words come from these classical languages, and many of the Latin ones have roots in Greek. So while this is not exactly a conversation lesson, it is something that'll help us understand the language a little more. And I thought that it would be a good idea to start with oid, O-I-D. There are so many words that use this, and it's a very useful root. It's going to continue to be used, I'm sure, as discoveries are made in science, for example. So when we see oid, it normally means looks like or resembles. So when we take the word andras, which is man, not human or mankind, like the masculine human, man, we take the word andras and we add ides, which means the thing which looks like. Ides is one of the forms of oid. We get androides, the android, the thing which resembles a man. So those of you who have Android phones, that might actually be a misnomer because those phones or that operating system don't really look like a man. Um, but in the Star Wars sense, when we think of droids, C3PO would certainly be one because he kind of looks like a man. R2D2, in the strictest sense, would not be an android because he doesn't really look like a man, although he does have legs, so I suppose it's possible. The word for woman is gyneka, which many of you know from gynecologist. Okay, it's a doctor that women go to. So if we were to develop a robot or a droid that looked like a woman, we might call it a gynecoid or something like that. To better understand where oid comes from and how it comes to English, I just have to cover this little point here. Omicron and epsilon are these weak vowels. For those of you who have studied ancient Greek, you know that these are the only two vowels that cannot have a perispomenon, a perispomeni, a circumflex. They're naturally short vowels. They're weak and they often switch places. There are many cases where an epsilon could replace an omicron and vice versa. So here, as an example, I've got goneas, which is the parent, right? The one who gives birth. And on the right side, we have Genesis, the birth. The gamma and the ni are, they're the actual parts of the word that are constant, but it's those weak vowels between them that change place. And there are many, many examples of this. We could probably talk an hour just about the words that share both an omicron and an epsilon. So let's put those off to the side and take a look at this word here, ιδέω. Ιδέω is an ancient Greek word which means I see, or it could also be I know. The idea being that you know something that you've seen and you can recognize it. So ιδέω, or idho when it's contracted, comes to modern Greek as tho, like θέλω να δω, I want to see, or μπορώ να δω, may I see, or something like that. Now, this mark over the yota, it looks like an apostrophe. Sometimes in handwriting, it looks like a backwards letter C. This represents a letter that has long since disappeared. It represented a letter that looked like an F. Although it was not really an F, it was called a digamma because it looks like it's one capital gamma and another capital gamma pasted together. Okay, so if you put those two together, you would wind up with that, and you would have gotten this letter called a digamma, or the digamma, as somebody might say if they were learning this from a non-Greek speaker. Anyway, that letter had kind of like a W sound, a W sound. So Idel might have been pronounced, and I say might because none of this was recorded. We don't have any audio samples of Greeks at the time using these. And this letter, by the way, this Digama disappeared a very, very long time ago. Um, anyway, this word Idel might have been pronounced Widel. And I don't want to get into the different pronunciations because that's a whole different argument. Anyway, Widel eventually made it to Latin, and the way Latin compensated for or represented that smooth breathing mark over the iota was with a V. Now, to learn more about U, V, and W and Y, I have another video on this channel about the letter Ypsilon, which explains it. Anyway, that letter often, not always, that W sound was represented by a V. So Idel in Greek went into Latin as Widel. And Widel, just like Idel, means I see. Now, and this might all be coming together, the VI is something that we still have in English, and it's used in things that are associated with sight, like visor, something that helps you see, or visual, or visit. When you visit someone, you are going literally to see them. If you have a visitor, someone has come to see you. So, from all of this, just to say that this Eve in the ancient Greek Ivel is where we get the oid from, the thing which looks like something. And there are so many words that use oid. Hopefully now you have a better understanding of where oid comes from. This is not some obscure etymology. These are words that we use every day. Typhoid, opioid, scleroid, asteroid, xiphoid, steroid, dermatoid. And some of these are medical, some are scientific. But these are words that we're going to be using, and more words will be made with the oid ending. So hopefully you understand now where this oid comes from and how it can be used. Hello.